Did anyone ever tell you the truth about what life feels like after 80? Not the surface stuff, not the common phrases like golden years or aging gracefully. I mean the real stuff, the parts nobody posts about on social media, the changes that don't just happen in your body, but in your world, in your connections, your confidence, even in how people look at you. If you're lucky enough to reach 80, you'll quickly realize something. It's not just time that's changing. It's everything. And here's the problem. No one talks about it. So when it hits harder. Not because you're weak, but because you weren't ready. Society is loud about youth. It shouts about hustle, goals, self-improvement, and becoming someone. But what happens when you've already become someone and the world starts looking past you? When you cross that invisible line into your 80s, you start seeing the world with new eyes, and the world, somehow, stops seeing you. There's no handbook for this, no instruction manual for waking up in a familiar house that suddenly feels a little too quiet, for realizing your body, this machine you've trusted for decades, is no longer playing by the rules. This isn't about giving up. It's about naming what's happening. Because there's power in naming. And if you're watching this, whether you're already in your 80s, just entering your 70s, or caring for someone who's further along the journey, this message is for you. You're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You're not alone. There are changes that come after 80 that nobody tells you about. Today, we're going to walk through 5 of them. Some are physical, some are social, some are emotional, all are real. And by the end of this video, you won't just understand what's happening, you'll know how to reclaim your power in the midst of it. Let me tell you a quick story. My grandfather, Louis, was a military man. Disciplined, resilient, always the first to offer help, but never the first to ask for it. I remember visiting him when he turned 84. He was still sharp, read the newspaper every morning, kept track of everyone's birthdays, but something had changed. At dinner, he barely spoke, not because he was tired, but because everyone else filled the silence before he had a chance to. After we ate, I found him sitting alone in his armchair, flipping through an old photo album. "You okay, Grandpa?" I asked. He smiled, soft and tired. "I'm fine," he said. "I just feel like the world's gotten a bit quieter lately, even when it's noisy." At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. Now I do. What he was describing wasn't sadness. It was adjustment. A recalibration to a life that had changed around him and inside him faster than anyone had warned him it would. This video isn't about scaring you. It's about preparing you and honoring you. It's a truth-telling journey, one that's honest but never cruel, personal but never isolating, reflective but always forward-facing. Because the moment you step into your 80s, you're not done. You're still becoming, still learning, still adapting. But adaptation requires awareness. So let's start naming the realities you deserve to understand. Why your social world might be shrinking. Why your body feels less reliable. Why your voice doesn't carry in a room the way it used to. Why the world around you feels smaller, and why your confidence stumbles, even when your spirit hasn't. Each one of these isn't just a change, it's a truth. And the more we tell the truth, the more we make space for strength. So stick with me. This isn't a lecture. It's a conversation, one we should have had years ago. But before we go there, take a moment. Think about someone over 80 that you know. Now ask yourself, do they know they're not alone in this? If they don't, share this video with them. Because sometimes the greatest gift we can offer isn't advice, It's validation. Let's keep going. Let's begin with something you might already feel, but rarely hear anyone say out loud. Aging is lonely. Not always in the dramatic, desperate sense, but in the subtle, slow drifting sense. Here's what happens. You start your 70s surrounded by routines. There's bridge club, Sunday church, your neighbor dropping by to borrow sugar, or just share gossip. Then, gradually, the calendar empties. Not all at once. Just a missed lunch here, a canceled trip there. Friends move away, others get sick, some pass on quietly in the night. And those who remain, their worlds shrink too. So even when they care, they disappear without meaning to. It's not betrayal, it's gravity. Aging, it turns out, is full of departures. May, 82, used to meet her friends every Wednesday at a small cafe downtown. They weren't her childhood friends, our college friends. They were her second circle, the kind of friendships you build in your 50s and 60s when life surprises you with reinvention. For over a decade, the group met without fail. Then Harriet moved to Florida to be closer to her son. Then Diane stopped driving at night. Then Joan got sick and didn't come back. Now May still goes. Alone. Same table, same time. But now she orders tea and sits by the window, without saying much. When I asked her why she still went, she said, "Because this table remembers what we built here, even if no one else does." That hit me hard, because for people like May, memory is a form of connection. And even in the quietest rooms, she's not alone. She's remembering together. We are social creatures. But in our 80s, we often find ourselves in a strange paradox. We've never needed others more, but we've never had fewer around. It's not that we lose the desire to connect. It's that the channels for connection get interrupted. Our hearing fades, making conversation harder. Our energy dips, so outings feel like obstacles. Our support systems, spouses, siblings, even old neighbors, start to disappear. And suddenly, you're left with a home full of memories, and a day full of silence. Here's what's interesting. Not all silence is painful. In fact, many older adults prefer it. They've outgrown drama. They no longer need the noise. But even the most introverted person will tell you, there's a difference between enjoying quiet and feeling forgotten. You start reflecting more, not because you miss the past, but because the present offers fewer moments to share with others. And reflection is beautiful, but longing isn't. Longing is when the silence starts whispering, "I used to matter to someone." If you're feeling this, you're not broken. You're not failing at retirement. You're human. Your need for connection didn't expire with your last job or your last birthday. It's still alive. And that's not weakness. It's proof you're still living with intention. In fact, some psychologists now say that social disconnection is as damaging to health in later life as high blood pressure or diabetes. That means friendship isn't just emotional, it's essential. And yet, so few people prepare you for the day when "everyone's busy" becomes the default reply, or when phone calls get shorter and less frequent, or when your only visitors are the ones on TV reruns. So how do you cope? Here's what doesn't help. Telling yourself it's just a phase, because it might not be. Waiting for others to call first. Pretending you're fine when you're not. Here's what does help. Nurturing fewer, deeper relationships. One close friend at 82 is worth more than 10 acquaintances at 25. Using technology, even if it feels awkward, video calls, voice memos, or even online forums can keep your world open. Creating legacy rituals. Share a memory every week. Write one letter per month. Leave messages behind, even for people not yet born. Because when your world shrinks, your impact doesn't have to. If someone asks how you're doing, and you're tempted to just say, "Fine, try this instead," I'm learning to live in a quieter world. It's teaching me new things about what matters. That line opens doors. It invites others in, and it reminds them that you are still here, still thinking, still feeling, still worthy of being seen. I want to end this segment with a truth I've come to believe deeply. After 80, your emotional resilience becomes your most powerful compass. Not your stamina, not your strength, not even your memory. Your resilience, the ability to feel everything that's fading and still say, "I'm here, and I'm still choosing to connect." Because at the end of the day, that's what keeps us human. Not how many people surround us, but how deeply we stay open to them, even when they drift. You've heard people say, "It's just a cold," or "just a bruise." But after 80, there's no such thing as just. Next, we'll talk about what really happens when your body's bounce back starts to disappear, and what you can do to adapt without giving up. It's just a cold. You'll bounce back. You've always been strong. These are the kinds of phrases people throw around without thinking. They sound comforting, familiar, almost harmless, until you're in your 80s and you realize they're no longer true. What used to be a minor inconvenience, a bruise, a skipped meal, a night of poor sleep, now lingers like an unwanted guest. After 80, your recovery time expands, but your energy reservoir shrinks. It's not just about getting sick more often. It's about getting well less completely. That small bruise on your shin? It takes 3 weeks to fade. The cold you caught at church? It lingers for a month. That short trip to the grocery store? You're in bed for the rest of the afternoon. You're not falling apart. You're not being dramatic. Your resilience has changed, and no one warned you. Let me tell you about someone I met at a senior wellness group. His name was James Green. He was 87, tall, lean, always wearing a baseball cap and talking about his tomatoes. One day, he tripped in his backyard. Not a fall exactly, more of a stumble. He caught himself, but twisted his hip slightly. No break, no hospital, just a limp and some soreness. He shrugged it off. "Just a scratch," he said. But here's what followed. Week 1, he couldn't stand long enough to water his plants. Week 2, the limp worsened because he tried to walk it off. Week 3, his sleep was disrupted, appetite dropped. Week 4, he ended up in physical therapy and had to cancel a family trip. All from a scratch. The damage wasn't just physical, it was psychological. For the first time, James hesitated before going out to his garden. Not because he couldn't, but because he didn't trust himself anymore. That, right there, is what this reality is really about. Not just that your body changes, but that your confidence starts to change with it. No one talks about this either. When your body stops bouncing back, your spirit starts absorbing the impact. You feel slower, not just physically, but emotionally. You wonder, will I recover this time? Should I cancel that dinner just in case? What if I fall in front of people? These aren't hypotheticals. They're the new background noise in your brain. And this noise wears you down, because every time you have to wait longer to feel normal, you start questioning whether normal is something you'll ever feel again. Let's talk facts for a moment. As we age, our immune system becomes less responsive, called immunosenescence. Muscle regeneration slows dramatically, bone density decreases, and our autonomic nervous system, the one that keeps everything regulated, starts to misfire under stress. In plain English, everything takes more time, more effort, and more energy to fix. It's not about attitude, it's about biology, and no amount of tough it out can override what the body physically can't do anymore. We all do this. You catch yourself saying, "I used to walk 5 miles a day. I never needed naps. I bounced back from surgery like it was nothing." And that comparison, it can eat you alive. But here's the truth. You are not failing at being your younger self. You are adapting to being your present self. The version of you today deserves different expectations, not lower ones, smarter ones. So what do you do when your body stops cooperating like it used to? You adapt, not in defeat, but in wisdom. Here's what that looks like. Checkmark 1. You pace instead of push. Instead of going all out on a good day and crashing for 3, you go 60% every day and stay consistent. 2. You prepare for recovery. You plan rest into your calendar like it's an appointment. 3. You treat water like medicine, because dehydration alone can mimic confusion, fatigue, even joint pain, and most people over 80 don't drink enough. 4. You ask for help early, not when it's urgent. Pride doesn't keep you strong. Awareness does. My Aunt Celia lost her husband at 79. By 82, she had taken over his gardening, his bills, and even started volunteering at her library. She was sharp, fiercely independent. Everyone praised her, until she collapsed one afternoon, not from illness, not from age, from dehydration and exhaustion. She had skipped lunch, forgot to drink water, and pushed through 3 days of poor sleep. I visited her in the hospital. She looked ashamed. "I didn't want to slow down," she said. I told her, "You don't need to slow down. You need to strategize." Since then, she's created a rule for herself: water, food, rest, before anything else. Now, she still volunteers, but she does it as a strategist, not a survivor. Resilience after 80 is no longer about how fast you bounce back. It's about how well you absorb life's disruptions without letting them dismantle your spirit. It's the strength to choose rest without guilt, cancel plans without shame, ask questions without embarrassment, adjust expectations without self-judgment. And if that doesn't sound like courage, I don't know what does. Please hear this. You're not failing. You're adjusting. And there's nothing wrong with needing more care than you used to. Your strength isn't gone. It's just been redistributed. So treat yourself as someone worthy of protection, because you are. Have you noticed that you speak and no one responds? That your ideas are dismissed? That people talk about you while you're standing right there? Let's talk about what really happens when society stops listening, and how to make your voice heard again. Have you ever entered a room and felt like no one even noticed? You say something, and someone speaks over you. You offer a story, and someone changes the subject. It's not always cruel. It's not even always intentional. But after 80, there's a quiet shift that creeps into your life. You stop being seen, not because you've changed, but because the world has recalibrated around you. It's not literal. You're not a ghost. But something happens socially that no one warns you about. You begin to feel backgrounded. You're not center stage anymore. You're not even in the supporting cast. You're the quiet figure standing at the edge of the scene. You try to speak, but people assume you've finished before you're done. They explain things you already know. They interrupt, correct, or move on, like you were never speaking at all. It's not that your voice has faded. It's that others have stopped tuning in. Let me tell you about my friend's grandmother, Marla. She's 85, sharp as a tack, a retired English teacher who can still quote Shakespeare without blinking. One Thanksgiving, the whole family gathered, 3 generations at a long table. Someone brought up a recent news story. Marla leaned forward and started to share a memory from when something similar happened back in the 60s. She had barely spoken 5 words when someone laughed over her. Then another person changed the subject. Just like that. Silenced. Later that night, she told her grandson, "I didn't expect to stop being heard while I was still alive." That line chilled me, because that's what invisibility feels like after 80. You're not forgotten, but you're not acknowledged. Modern culture centers speed, youth, and novelty. If you don't move fast, talk fast, or keep up with TikTok slang, you're seen as irrelevant. Worse yet, age becomes a filter others see you through before they hear your words. You're not Danielle who ran a business for 40 years. You're grandma who might forget what she just said. You're not Kenneth who served in 2 wars and speaks 5 languages. You're the guy with hearing aids we need to talk louder for. This automatic labeling, this social shortcut, steals dignity. And the tragedy is, most people doing it don't even realize they're doing it. Research shows that older adults who feel socially invisible experience higher rates of depression, lower cognitive stimulation, increased feelings of worthlessness, and even shorter lifespans. Yes, being ignored can shorten your life. Not because you're lonely in the traditional sense, but because invisibility disconnects you from identity. If no one sees you, you start forgetting how to see yourself. You start asking, do I still matter? Would the room be any different if I wasn't in it? Does anyone actually want to hear what I have to say? Those are existential questions. And they hurt far more than sore knees or aching joints, because deep down, we're not just built for interaction, we're built for recognition. So how do you fight back against the fog of invisibility? You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to dominate a room, but you do need to anchor your presence. Here's how. Checkmark 1. Start with, "I've seen this before." It's a powerful phrase. It signals that your experience is not only valid, it's instructive. Example, "I've seen markets crash like this before. Here's what helped people then." Checkmark 2. Ask bold, intentional questions. Instead of waiting for your turn, steer the conversation with something only you could ask. "Can I tell you a story you'll remember the next time this happens?" People love stories, especially ones rooted in life experience. 3. Refuse to shrink. When someone interrupts or dismisses you, pause. Gently say, "I wasn't quite finished." Not in defiance, but in dignity. You're not being rude. You're setting the expectation that your words are worth space. If you've lived through a war, a pandemic, civil unrest, economic turmoil, the loss of family, and the birth of new ones, then guess what? You have more perspective than 99% of the people in that room. You've survived history. Don't let culture convince you you're not part of its future. At a school event, a 15-year-old was assigned to interview someone over 80. He was paired with a quiet, wrinkled man named Eli, 92, who had walked with a cane and said little during the gathering. The teen asked, "What was the most surprising thing you've ever lived through?" Eli replied, "The most surprising thing? That I've lived through so much, and still, no one asks." The teen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Can I ask everything now?" That hour-long conversation changed that boy's understanding of history and gave Eli his voice back. The point? Someone is always ready to listen, but sometimes they need an invitation. If you're watching this and you're not over 80, maybe you're 30, 45, 60, this part is for you. When you ignore someone's story, you're throwing away a manual you haven't even read yet. There's a reason ancient cultures valued elders as wisdom keepers. We've forgotten that, but we can remember again. Start by listening. Start by seeing. Start by saying, "Tell me more. Let me remind you." The world might look away, but that doesn't erase who you are. Write down your stories. Speak even if it feels like no one hears. Keep showing up to conversations. Keep asking big questions. Your voice doesn't lose value with time. It gains depth. And when the world finally slows down to listen, what you say might just be the thing that guides it forward. When your favorite places close, your neighbors disappear, and routines dissolve, how do you find richness in a world that keeps getting smaller? Let's talk about how to navigate the slow, steady erosion of daily life, and why smaller doesn't always mean lesser. You don't wake up one day and realize your world is smaller. It happens gradually, quietly, like a tide pulling away while you aren't watching. One day you're out every morning, chatting with your neighbors, running errands, seeing familiar faces at the bakery. Then, without ceremony, that map of daily life begins to shrink. You don't stop living, you just start living closer in. You might start noticing things like you visit fewer places in a day, you skip outings you used to enjoy, you catch yourself hesitating before a short walk or drive. It's not necessarily fear, it's not even sadness, it's effort. Everything feels like it takes more of it. And when effort rises, engagement often falls. You stop going not because you don't want to, but because it feels like the cost is too high. That's when the shrinkage begins. Paul, age 88, used to walk to his favorite corner cafe every morning. He had a usual order. The staff knew his name. He'd sit on the same bench by the window, drink his coffee, and watch life pass. Then winter came, and with it, a particularly icy morning. Paul slipped just a little, but it shook him. He didn't go back the next day, or the next week, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't trust the walk anymore. Spring arrived, the ice melted, the cafe remained. But Paul didn't return. One day, I asked him why. "It's not the cafe," he said. "It's the feeling of belonging I'm scared I might have left behind." That's when I realized it wasn't just about distance, it was about disconnection. Several things are happening all at once. Check 1. Mobility decreases, knees ache, muscles stiffen. Even walking across the room can take more planning. 2. Transportation becomes a barrier. Driving is stressful or impossible. Rides from others come with scheduling friction or feelings of guilt. 3. Familiar places vanish, stores close, doctors retire, the world reorganizes without asking for your input. 4. Neighbors move, friends pass, the people who filled your routine disappear and aren't replaced. Over time, your radius of life shrinks from city, neighborhood, home, room. And for many, that final circle is one chair by the window. Let's be clear. This isn't just logistical, it's existential. When the outer world narrows, so can your sense of purpose. You start wondering, am I still part of anything? If I disappear from this routine, does it even matter? Am I living or just waiting? This quiet erosion of daily meaning is something few people talk about, but many experience, and it can lead to emotional numbness, isolation, and even physical decline, not because you're fragile, but because your days stop feeling like they belong to you. That cafe you used to visit, it wasn't just a cafe, It was your role as a regular, that neighbor you waved to each morning. They weren't just a passerby. They confirmed your presence. That walk around the block, it wasn't about exercise. It was your sense of agency. So when those things go, you don't just lose routine. You lose pieces of self. Here's the part where hope returns. A smaller map doesn't mean a smaller life. It just means you need a new way to navigate it. Let's talk about how. Strategy. 1. Micro-adventures. Instead of thinking about what you can't do anymore, focus on tiny shifts in environment. Sit in a different chair by the window. Watch the sunrise from a new corner of the porch. Take a slow walk to the end of your driveway and back, with intention. These small moments give your brain novelty, which reactivates engagement and motivation. Strategy 2. New anchors of meaning. If your old places are gone, build new ones, even at home. Turn a spare room into a legacy corner with photos and journals. Create a tea ritual every afternoon at the same time. Call one friend every Tuesday and mark it on your calendar like an appointment. Routine isn't about repetition. It's about reminders that you still exist inside your day. Strategy 3. Virtual belonging is still belonging. Many elders resist online interaction. It feels foreign, even uncomfortable. But once embraced, it opens up new worlds. You can join an online book club, talk to grandchildren over video calls, watch live lectures and comment alongside others, reconnect with an old friend across the country via email. Digital connection isn't less real, it's just less physical, and in your 80s, that's a worthy trade-off. Strategy 4. Daily purpose. Prompts. Write this on a card and keep it near your bed. What did I give today? What did I learn today? What did I enjoy today? Even one small answer gives your day shape, and a life with shape is a life that still has meaning. Evelyn, 91, lives in assisted living. Her mobility is limited, her eyesight fading. She rarely leaves her room, but every morning, she reads a new poem aloud. She journals what it made her feel. Then she calls her daughter and tells her what line she liked most. That's it. That's her map now. Bed, bookshelf, phone, voice. But let me tell you, Evelyn's world is not small. It's intentional. It's vivid. It's hers. Here's the truth. The world outside may fade, but the world within you can expand forever. Your imagination, your memories, your love, your presence. These have no physical limits. And when you learn how to build a new map inside a smaller space, you begin to realize something. A full life is not about how far you go. It's about how deeply you live where you are. Please know, you are not behind. You are not less than. You are not forgotten. You are adapting. You are rebuilding. And you are still becoming. The final truth is one of the hardest. What happens when your body begins surprising you? When one day you're strong, and the next you can barely get out of bed? Let's talk about the unpredictability of your body after 80, and how to stay emotionally grounded when the rules keep changing. One day, your body works. The next, it doesn't. No explanation, no warning, just unpredictability. For much of your life, your body was your most reliable companion. You may not have always liked it, but you trusted it. You trusted it to get you out of bed, to climb stairs, to hold a pen, to catch your breath. Then somewhere after 80, it starts sending mixed signals. And that trust, it begins to fray. You wake up and feel clear, strong, even eager. You think, today's the day I finally clean out that closet. By noon, you're dizzy, fatigued, unsure why your hands tremble, and suddenly, everything planned feels impossible. It's not just frustrating, it's unnerving. Because the question that creeps in isn't, can I still do this? It's, can I still rely on myself? That's the real betrayal. Here's the truth no one tells you. After 80, your body stops giving you clear rules. One day you can walk without pain. The next, you limp for no reason. You sleep 8 hours but wake up tired. You eat well but feel nauseous. Stairs you conquered yesterday leave you winded today. You start checking your pulse, wondering if something's wrong. But here's the cruel part. Sometimes there's nothing medically wrong. Your body is just inconsistent. Henry was a lifelong runner, not professionally, just someone who loved movement, jogged 3 times a week into his 70s. Even at 82, he walked every morning. Then, one afternoon, standing in his kitchen, he bent down to pick up a dropped spoon and froze. His knees locked. His balance disappeared. It took him almost 5 minutes to straighten up. No fall, no injury, just a sudden disconnect between intention and ability. That night, he told his daughter, "I feel like my body speaks a different language now." And that's exactly it. You're not losing control. You're navigating a body that no longer follows your cues. There are real biological reasons behind this unpredictability. Nerve conduction slows, making signals travel less efficiently. Blood circulation drops, especially to extremities, and the brain muscle elasticity declines, making movements stiffer and slower. Brain-body communication becomes inconsistent, particularly under stress or fatigue. In simpler terms, your body is still running, but the software lags, and like any glitchy system, you can't always predict when or why it will fail. This isn't just about joints or organs. It's about what it does to your confidence. You begin second-guessing. Should I shower now or wait for help? Should I go to that event? Or will I embarrass myself? Should I mention the dizzy spell? Or will they think I'm declining? And this self-doubt is paralyzing, because you're not just managing your body. You're managing fear of what happens next. A lot of people think the options are power through or give up. But there's a third, better option. Adapt with grace. Not because you're weak, but because flexibility is the new strength. Let me explain. Here's what adaptation can look like in daily life. Checkmark 1. Body mapping. Keep a small journal of how your body feels each morning, before coffee, before noise. Patterns will emerge. You'll begin to predict your own rhythms and act accordingly. 2. The 80-20 rule. Don't aim for perfect days. Aim for 80% effort, 20% margin, every single day. This keeps your energy reserves protected for when unpredictability hits. 3. Proactive pausing. Don't wait until you feel off. Build scheduled stillness into your life, even when you feel good. Because preventing exhaustion is easier than recovering from it. Instead of thinking, "My body betrayed me," try asking, "What is my body trying to tell me today?" It may sound small, but this shift transforms your relationship with aging. Because when you treat your body like a partner, not an enemy, you gain clarity. Alice, 89, had always been self-sufficient. She mowed her lawn until 84. One morning, she dropped her toothbrush. As she bent to pick it up, her hip locked. She didn't fall, but it scared her. The next week, she stopped using her upstairs bedroom. Then she stopped gardening. Then cooking for guests. Her world shrank. Not because she couldn't do things, but because she didn't trust herself anymore. Until one day, her daughter bought her a small armchair and placed it by the downstairs window. Alice started calling it her check-in chair. Every morning, before doing anything, she sat there, sipped tea, and listened to her body. Some days she stayed. Some days she rose. But every day she felt seen, by herself. After 80, the key isn't controlling your body. It's learning how to listen without judgment. You don't need to be brave every hour of the day. You just need to be attentive in the moments that matter. And when the unpredictable happens, because it will, you respond with awareness, not panic. Because you've been preparing not for perfection, but for presence. If your hands shake, if your legs buckle, if your vision blurs for a moment and your heart rate jumps, don't jump to conclusions, and don't suffer silently. You're not alone, and more importantly, you're not broken. You are aging, and aging is not a failure. It's a transformation. Your body is still yours. It's still worthy of care, and so are you. You've heard 5 hard truths. But what do they mean together? What do they teach us about how to live and how to thrive, even after 80? In the final part of this video, we'll connect the dots and uncover the deeper message these truths reveal, and the freedom that comes when you stop pretending aging should be easy. So here we are. We've walked through 5 hard truths about friendship, health, visibility, routine, and trust. You might be wondering, what now? What am I supposed to do with all of this? That's what this final part is for. When you look at these 5 truths side by side, you'll notice something. They're not really about weakness. They're about transition. They reflect a world that's changing around you and a body that's changing within you. But here's the shift that can change everything. You don't have to suffer through that transition. You can move with it. Like a tree bending in the wind, you don't break. You adjust. And in that adjustment, you discover something many people never do. You are still becoming. Even at 81, even at 87, even at 94. Still becoming means you haven't stopped growing. Your growth just looks different now. You're not chasing milestones. You're chasing meaning. You're no longer trying to prove yourself. You're learning to accept yourself. You're still shaping your legacy. You're still rewriting what these years can look like. You're still choosing to show up, especially on days when showing up is the hardest thing you do. Bernice is 93. She writes a list every morning titled, "Reasons I Still Count Today." Some days the list includes, I helped my granddaughter learn to bake bread. I prayed for someone I love. I smiled at myself in the mirror, just to practice kindness. She keeps these pages in a drawer, over 1,000 entries so far. When asked why she does it, she said, because people forget we still matter. So I write it down until I remember. That's the energy of still becoming. Not loud, not flashy, but deeply alive. Let's turn those 5 truths into 5 lessons, so you leave this video with more than just honesty. Truth number 1, shrinking social circles. Lesson, the number of friends doesn't matter. The depth of connection does. Treasure the ones who stay. Truth number 2, fragile recovery. Lesson, self-compassion is now your strength. Protect what remains without apology. Truth number 3, loss of visibility. Lesson, speak anyway. Even if no one listens at first, your story has value. Always. Truth number 4, a smaller daily life. Lesson, the size of your world doesn't define its beauty. Purpose can live in one room. Truth number 5, an unreliable body. Lesson, listen, adapt, prepare, then move forward, on your own terms. If you're not in your 80s, but you love someone who is, please hear this. Don't rush them. Don't speak for them. Don't assume they're fine just because they're quiet. Ask questions, create space, and above all, listen without trying to fix, because your presence doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent. You are not an afterthought. You are not a burden. You are not what the world assumes. You are here. You are learning still. Loving still. Growing still. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. You may be aging, but you are not disappearing. You still carry the ability to comfort, challenge, teach, and inspire. You still have you, and that is enough. If this video touched you, leave a comment below. Tell us, what truth hit hardest? What have you been carrying quietly that you're ready to speak out loud? And if you're willing, share one intention you'll set for yourself this week. Big or small, say it so others feel less alone. If you found value in this message, give this video a like. Subscribe for more honest, empowering reflections, and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Because this channel isn't just about growing older, it's about growing deeper, together. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying. And thank you for still becoming.